The Adventurer's Log 02.0214.21. Hi, I'm Bobby. I'm your host, and this is a very special Adventurer's Log. We are doing what I'm calling off the cuff. Do kind of a Zoom recorded, whatever. So my two guests are Chris Duke and Wes Baldwin, some very good friends of mine, and let's get this started. Y'all can go ahead, unmute yourselves now.
Hey, Bubba.
Hey, Wes.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. So, Wes has been on my show before. Chris obviously hasn't. So Wes has an idea of how I perform all this, but it's a little bit different setting than before because I'm in front of the green screen, and when he was here, we were over there. So what I want to talk about first is WandaVision. The most recent episode is season 1, episode 6, episode 6. The thing that I found interesting was the fact that they recast Pietro, Wanda's brother from Age of Ultron. And another interesting thing is the fact that the actor they used is the guy, Evan Peters, who played Quicksilver, Speed, in X-Men films.
He's Quicksilver in X-Men too.
Quicksilver. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they used the X-Men side guy to play the exact same character that they used in Age of Ultron. So I found that pretty interesting. And I think they did that intentionally, at least on my side of it, I think so, because how do I put this? I don't know what the first actor was doing, but I think they did this because they wanted it slightly different, because Wanda's in this town. She's in Westview, and it's all funky, weird. Each episode's different. So I think this just adds to the mystique, especially since Pietro is dead, and in her timeline is dead. So
spoilers.
Well, have you seen WandaVision?
No.
Have you seen Age of Ultron?
I have not.
Well, then you're fine.
Yeah, there's been plenty of time for you to see Age of Ultron, so that's on you.
Well, one of the things, could I jump in here, Bobby, for a sec?
Yeah, definitely.
So, probably one of the things that I would want to point out is that, with the way they've done the episodes, if you haven't seen them, and since you haven't seen it, it's just could tell you essentially, it starts out like a 50s sitcom, and then moves up to the 60s, and then the 70s, and the 80s, and then this most recent one was done in Malcolm in the Middle style, late 90s, early 2000s.
Where the two sons are talking to the camera, and I loved that the whole time.
Right.
I loved that.
Right. And so it's got it's trying to pay on homage to the sitcom, but it's also, and we'll get into the deep theory here in a second, but the biggest thing I want to point out is that this show is so talked about everywhere. It is so popular right now. You have tons of interest generated by it because it keeps people guessing. And in fact, they have literal like Instagram and Facebook rooms that people are trying to do guessing. Reddit is completely gone nuts. And it's because they keep dropping enough hints that there's like a million possible theories.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the intention. But it's definitely one of those things that you shouldn't sleep on, Wes. You should get into it when you get a chance.
Okay.
I mean, and you can use my Disney Plus if you need to.
I stole my sister's, so
there you go.
I've been catching up on childhood classics like Tom and Huck.
Nice.
Nice.
So one of the unique things about this most recent episode. It's a Halloween episode,
Mhm.
and we see Wanda and Vision both in their classic comic book style
Costumes.
superhero outfits,
Right.
and the same with Quicksilver. He's
Mhm.
also in it, and I I knew it was happening, or at least the Halloween side. I knew that was happening, and I knew that the outfits, but I didn't know about Quicksilver. Obviously, it was a big deal. Um, but I enjoyed the episode. I've enjoyed every episode or from the very beginning. And what are your Chris? What are your thoughts on the commercial that was in this one? The
Oh, the
Yo
one with the
Magic.
the Gogurt kind of style.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of pretty. I watched about 4 different other YouTubers who do really excellent breakdowns on Easter eggs and things like that that always kind of help me kind of categorize things in it. And I think one of the ones was that like there was a guy on Screen Crush, and he's done a lot of stuff, and I recommend him just in general for YouTube when it comes to like movies and everything. But he broke it down, and he was like, I felt like I was trying to read too much um into the commercial, because like, oh, what does this little crab mean, or what does this little thing mean? But ultimately, what I kind of took from it was that like Wanda, or whoever is controlling Wanda or influencing Wanda, maybe not controlling but influencing Wanda, snacked on her magic and is keeping her drunk on magic that is allowing her to completely control this little town of Westview. And West, just for you, imagine kind of like a Twilight Zone style where like the people of Westview are all under the control of Wanda or somebody, we're not sure yet. And it's created these moments where people have these clairvoyance, and it's like a horror almost. And
Yeah.
so it's just very terrifying in some cases for the people. So
Yeah,
not us as the audience necessarily.
and I was going to ask you, Chris, who do you think did it? Because we've seen the flashbacks and the camera footage from when Wanda went to the facility, and we can see that she was so distraught. Sorry, Wes, spoilers. So distraught that her magic exploded, and it initially caused this. I don't know if it fully did, but what? Who do you think it might be, and why do you think they're doing it?
Well, I think that there's a lot of possibilities at play. Um, a lot of people have brought up the Kree and the Scroll may be part of it, because there's a hope that with the Fantastic Four movie lingering in the background, that we might be getting towards a Secret Wars kind of thing. But I don't know if they're going to go that route just yet. I have a much more interesting theory that most recently developed by, I've seen a couple people mention it, but they haven't quite hit on the nail what they think, why it is. But I think it could be either I mean, everybody kind of goes with the Mephisto and Agatha Harkness thing, which Agatha could still be Agatha Harkness, and Mephisto could have been what started this. But I think that either Hayward or somebody might be Ultron, because James Spader is actually listed on the cast as a voice actor with new audio.
Are you sure it's Are you sure it's the actual James Spader, not just another different voice actor James Spader?
No, it's James Spader, like his picture and everything. So who knows? It could be a stretch. That's my stretch, but I think that it more like that's my stretch theory. More actual theory, it's probably going to be Mephisto or Agatha Harkness.
I'm with you on Agatha, because the neighbor is
Agatha. Agna Harkness. Yeah.
And
Harkness,
when when Vision woke her up in this episode, she laughed. Everybody else is, freaked out and screamed and da da da, and
She may
she
have been
laughed
enjoying it.
and she was enjoying it. So, and there were hints at that before the series even came out because people were like, "Oh, well, there's this person. Here's this person. Who do we think this person is?" And that was one of the people that they said. So,
Yeah, and it could be possibly what I there could be multiple layers to it because this show is supposed to kind of layer in and then take us into Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness,
yep,
Spider-Man 3 even possibly, the new
yep.
Spider-Man 3. Or even other shows in the Disney Plus genre. Um, so I don't know. I mean, there's definitely room for interpretation. It could be that, and just another thought that maybe why Ultron is even brought up is that maybe he comes in as a nightmare, or maybe even some people have hinted that Nightmare, the villain, could be the thing, which I could see it. I mean,
And
there's so many possibilities. It's just
and with Wanda increasing the town size, and
Mhm.
this week again, spoilers. Sorry, Wes. Uh, but with her increasing the town size in this last episode to
Mhm.
save Vision, um, we see that
Drunk on your magic.
we see that the 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 military camp that was right outside was turned into a carnival.
Hmm.
Um, did did Darcy, did she get taken in?
Hmm. She was taken in,
Okay.
and she uttered a cuss word to the F word, but it was kind of
Okay.
blurred out.
Okay.
So,
I was sitting outside watching on my tablet yesterday, and the sun came out right there at the end, and where I sit and watch, it blinded everything. I was like,
well,
so
one I think is hilarious though is all the predictions are that she's just going to be her two broke girls character,
that would be
which
funny.
I don't know if they can do that because I don't think they have a license, but it'd be
No, they don't.
hilarious. It's
Um,
two broke squirrels. That's
but
Wes's favorite Cat Dennings.
but that I was also thinking because when they got away, sorry, Wes, spoilers. When they got away, um, I was wondering like, what are they going to do? Are they going to go into the town? I'm like, well, they're coming up on very similar time periods that they could essentially be themselves.
Hmm.
So except for Dan or not Danvers. Um,
Monica Rambo's.
thank you,
Yeah.
Rambo. So yeah, all right. Anything else on WandaVision you want to talk about real
Really,
quick?
the only other thing I'll say is that what I like about most about this show is that it really does keep you guessing because they just give you just enough, and that kind of goes into like the formatting of WandaVision because they're doing it like it's actual television, where it's
Yeah,
got it doesn't even have like a scene at the end. They have featurettes that appear on YouTube and stuff that kind of hint, but they don't have like a preview.
yeah.
Um, it's trying to simulate, actual television, because that's what everybody ultimately wanted, in some ways. But yet, we're also kind of in that culture of we like the snackable, streamable stuff. So this is kind of one of those. It's new. It's such a different take on how to do new content, and I'm here for it. And I think that kind of leads into Falcon and Winter Soldier, my next thing I was going to talk
Perfect.
about.
Go ahead.
So,
Go ahead.
um, Falcon Winter Soldier is not out yet. So Wes, no spoilers here. We have no idea. Just speculation. Um, have you seen what Marvel movies have you seen, Wes? I'm trying to remember because I know it's a few of them.
Let's see. Does Iron Man 1 count as a Marvel movie?
It
Yes, it
does.
does.
That was the last one.
I know that's not true. I know you've seen more than that, but
I
anyways,
have
or maybe you've seen pieces of them because I know you reference stuff. Maybe you're just good at referencing. So, but in Civil War, Captain America: Civil War, the villain is Zemo, and
Okay.
he's apparent. His name is Commander Zemo. No, Corporal Zemo. I don't know. Probably one of the most
Okay.
interesting parts of it is that what am I trying to say? There's
Sorry, distracted you.
I can't remember his first name, but it was Zemo. But he goes and he tries to break the Avengers up and actually succeeds in breaking them up because of the secrets between Tony and the Winter Soldier, which is Bucky. Anyways, it's not really spoilers. At this point, you probably should have seen it.
So
Yeah.
Buck Rogers of the 25th century. Got it. Okay.
Sure. But the but there's this really strange, I guess what you would like to call, moment where I watched the trailer about 4 times, and I keep thinking that I see the possibility of the connection between WandaVision and this show is that maybe somehow these two guys get involved with WandaVision. They may not be the big reveal or whatever, but they may be like, it may be talked about because it takes place after Spider-Man Far From Home, which is something that, or at least it's supposed to, again, prediction, not necessarily know for sure, but it takes place after Far From Home because Far From Home is after Endgame, and everybody's, kind of in that moment where, because WandaVision's like right on top of Far From Home, and then this is after Far From Home, and so you're trying to figure out where it is in the timeline. But my big prediction is that Zemo, everybody always is fixating on him wearing the purple mask, trying to be like Thanos.
Yeah.
That's something weird to fixate on. But my big prediction about this show is that it's going to introduce that it'll introduce not necessarily WandaVision, which I mean it could. I could be wrong. It's one of the things about predictions, you always could be wrong. But I think that this show, Falcon and Winter Soldier, will actually introduce, if there is any Secret Wars kind of style idea, or maybe even the Fantastic Four, kind of like or even just hinting at Victor Von Doom or Reed Richards. And the reason why I don't think WandaVision is because I think it's too early for that. And in this show, by this point, they'll be wanting to reveal and kind of tease it as in they're making it. But even then, it still could be too early. But I think it's going to lay the groundwork for the next phase, because that's what WandaVision and this show are about, or just trying to lay the groundwork.
Yeah, and I will say, I've seen the trailer a couple times for the Winter Soldier or Falcon Winter Soldier. I'm not all that excited for it. Not like I was for WandaVision, mainly because mainly because I read the WandaVision comic book series, or it's whatever. So I read that.
No, I know what you mean.
So I was excited for WandaVision, and I was curious how they're going to do all the different and so they're doing it quite well. But the Falcon Winter Soldier, I don't know if there's a comic book series for that, or if this is straight up mashup that they've done for TV. If they did, that's awesome. That is awesome.
I think it'll be something, because typically when they have Falcon Winter Soldier, like Captain America, they typically deal with Shield and Hydra and stuff more directly. And well, now not Shield anymore, Sword. But so
my issue with that is, in the comics, from what I remember, Shield was the defenders of Earth.
Yeah. And Sword was the offensive.
Yeah. Which is completely different from what Hydra was.
Right.
So, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it could be. It could, but I think what it was is that it never have hinted at it, but it kind of makes me think that maybe they're working for Sword or Shield again. But I don't know. Who knows? But that's what I think is interesting about it. That's all I really wanted to have to say about it. I think it's gonna pick up right where WandaVision left off, and kind of be this continuation.
And we're lucky because we have 4 more episodes of WandaVision. And when does Falcon and Winter Soldier come out? I don't remember the.
It's the next week.
Nice, the next week. Perfect.
So like it's intention. It's like basically they're trying to basically, you know,
Split it up so it's one continuous thing, but at the same time,
different
it's still in.
stories.
Yeah. So, all right. So, is there anything else you want to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier?
No,
or
I just
WandaVision?
I think that the both of those shows, if the way WandaVision's done, if they, I don't remember who they have who directing Falcon Winter Soldier because it was different than WandaVision, but I think it's one of the writers on Falcon Winter Soldier was the same writer that's working with Sam Raimi and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
So he's like worked on all three of the projects. So they're
Okay.
trying. I mean, it just feels like, and Marvel's done this in the past, where they connect the writers, and then Lucasfilm is about to start doing the same thing. You know, because the Disney overlord is like, you're going to all do this now. So, so pretty excited to see where that goes.
All right, so let's step away from the Disney overlord and all that jazz, and let's get into a new TV series that's coming to Apple TV that I'm very excited for, called Foundation. I know there's a book series for it. I've not read it.
Really?
Yeah, no, I have not
That
read it.
surprises me. Such a sci-fi guy yourself.
I know, and there's numerous, and it's actually on my to read list. But I've heard such good things. I know very loosely the storyline, but not enough to explain it. So how about you explain it real quick, Chris? If you know it.
I mean, I do. I never finished the whole series. I've got the beginning part of it, but it's kind of one of those series that it's got like collections of certain books that are all like slightly different periods in time. But essentially, it's like a very ultra future where the entire universe is essentially under an empire, and basically they know that they feel like the empire is going to come to an end soon. It's been predicted, and so essentially what ends up happening is that they try to, like, I don't want to misstep and say something wrong because in my brain I think I don't want to mix it up with that other one that I always get it mixed up with, and so I have to think about it for a sec.
No, that's fine.
Because there's Ringworld, which is a whole other series, and Foundation, which kind of builds, like, they're two different things.
Okay.
But they have weirdly similar, like, humanity is in space and in like much different kind of circumstances.
Okay.
But essentially with Foundation, it's an Isaac Asimov, same guy that did iRobot.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All that. And so this was one of the foundation. Why it's called Foundation is that basically, like, Foundation is essentially like his foundation for his theory of sci-fi in a lot of ways. That's why he originally wanted to name it that. And then there was a whole bunch of other reasons too. But the show is essentially humanity is in a whole other kind of realm, and they're dominant species. And go ahead.
A complex saga of humans scattered on planets throughout the galaxy, all living under the rule of the Galactic Empire.
Yeah, Galactic Empire. That's the word.
That's the official synopsis on IMDb.
Right.
So there you go. Continue.
Yeah. So basically, it's one of those books that is so detailed that I'm not surprised a lot of people haven't read them in a long time, because they were written back when education actually pushed people to read.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, I can give you full understanding that is still not the case. But essentially, it's so complex that I don't know how they're going to do it on a small screen, I guess you could say. Yeah. But when I heard that Apple was the one tackling it, I was skeptical, because at first some of Apple's stuff has been kind of and some of it's been kind of not bad. Like I haven't even watched Ted Lasso, but people keep talking about it all the time.
Yeah, I've not watched it. Again, it's on my list to watch, but not to review because it's not a sci-fi. But I've watched our next show. We'll talk about here in a second. But I've also watched Sight. I think it is
Mm-hmm.
one with Jason Momoa about how
Mm-hmm. See,
every see that's it. How everybody is blind except for these two kids,
mm-hmm.
and he has to save them, and oh, it's so fantastic. And then I've seen a couple other Apple TV movies, TV
The morning
shows
show.
that are fantastic, like
Mhm.
wonderfully written, and I'm hoping they do sequels of all of these, but I don't know if they will. But
Supposedly they will. They have more money than God, so
it is Apple. But to go in, unless you have something else, Wes,
just
do you,
one of those
do you have
hypes.
anything for? No.
Foundation.
Okay. To go into our
Wes.
next film, another Apple TV series that I watched all the way through in 3 days, 4 days. It's called For All Mankind. It is set in an alternate universe or alternate version of 1969. The Soviet Union beats the U.S. to the moon, and the space race continues on for decades with still grander challenges and goals. So I know both y'all have most likely. I know Chris, you said you've not seen it.
No.
You've probably not seen it because whatever. So it is extremely well done. And so like the first couple episodes, it's in sequence of timeline, the timeline we all know and love. And then the Soviets get on the moon. And it's at the point that uh, it looks like they're going to shut down NASA completely and be done with it. And NASA pushes for them to continue. And at the time, Nixon is there, and he says, I want women. I want my ladies." And they train up, and they have the full women's uh, team. And
Right.
so about 30 to 40 years before, it's about 25 to 30 years before women are actually allowed to be astronauts, because the Soviets made it to the moon first.
Mm-hmm.
In the show, there's women astronauts, which is quite well done, and it's based around two astronauts that are not real astronauts.
Right.
Because there's one that you're going to talk about in the next show we talk about here in a moment, that was written for the series,
Mm-hmm.
but is kind of an amalgamation. Is that the right
Yeah,
word?
that's right.
Amalgamation of different characters,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the exact same character that they use in the right stuff in For All Mankind. And so these
Really?
two, yes. So these two characters are not real characters ever, or we're not real characters in real life, but it follows their adventures through this, and it takes them from 69 to 80,
Wow.
I think. And so it's a slight spoiler, but they end up putting a space base on the moon,
Wow.
as well
So
as the Soviets. So
it's turning into space war over the moon, basically.
yeah, let me share this with you real quick so you can get an idea.
So Wes, it's Wes, did you ever watch or not watch, read the Harry Turtledove novels?
Like 4 or 5 of them.
So this is kind of like that. It's an alternate history. Oh yeah, look at that. Guns on the
So
moon,
so
Wes.
yeah, they're on the moon, um, and they've got weapons, and so uh, that's yeah, that's from this upcoming season that comes out on the 19th. So,
Hmm.
all right,
Interesting.
what were you saying about Turtle Dove or
Harry Turtledove, he wrote these series of books about alternate history about if the South won the Civil War or if
Nazis
aliens
took
invade.
over or whatever?
Well, no, actually, it was if aliens invaded during World War II and weird stuff like that. That was kind of just out there in some ways, but it's always kind of gives you like a moment where it's like, what if that happened? You know, and so it's kind of an interesting take that they decided to do that, comparing that with the right stuff, which I know we're not into that yet, but like how it's still about that same journey
Yeah,
about getting to the moon and all that. And then kind of interesting that they go so far as to land and make bases, because that's essentially what Jeff Bezos is trying to do right now with Blue Origin, is build a base on the moon. And Elon Musk, when he's not doing pot on the Joe Rogan show, he's or working at Tesla, he's like, hey, let's get people on Mars. So speaking of which, Wes, I have a new idea for you. You should
Okay.
be one of the people that sign up to go to Mars.
Oh, okay. I
I
mean,
want.
I know I'm a sad boy and I don't have anything else to live for,
That's
but
not what I was saying.
I don't want to.
well, okay, all right. Let's get back to this real quick. For All Mankind, it is the first season is 10 episodes, and they're each an hour plus.
Wow,
So
really?
yeah, and there's no commercials, obviously. Um, I recommend Duke. You definitely watch it, and Wes, if you come over sometime, you and I can sit there and watch it, because it's fantastic. And I've always been a fan of NASA and space travel, because me being a nerd and being a big fan of Star Trek, and because of that, and then NASA, and always been a fan. So definitely check this show out. And so, Chris,
Mhm.
you were wanting to talk about uh, the right stuff, which is based on the book The Right Stuff, which is about the very first Mercury 7.
Mhm. And
Go
Alan
ahead,
Shepard.
Alan. Well, yeah, Alan Shepard, but the Mercury 7.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
Well, and this show also might be interesting to you, Wes, because it's so periodly done well that uh, it kind of takes you back to the 60s, and you see there's even a whole bunch of cast of people from like Mad Men, the show Mad Men. They got those same actors to play in this show,
Yeah.
and it kind of helped because they already have the experience with the period, and so it just kind of suited them. And also, like, if you've seen Mad Men, then you're like, oh yeah, and so just kind of it tied it in. But it's surprisingly good for National Geographic's like first real like
Film.
we're gonna
Yeah.
make a show. It's
Yeah.
like an actual show. And granted, Disney owns like 70 something percent of Nat Geo, and so it's all funded by Disney. But at the same time, it's interesting that they went with this. And I think part of it was because there is so much interest in the moon and space again. And I don't know, like culturally, I think that we're all kind of looking, especially now, we've all been kind of stuck inside and most of the time and not being able to, do stuff like this face to face. And so there's kind of this renewed interest in like, maybe we should, explore other places, and keep pushing the envelope in science. And so the show itself just kind of was able to capture that, I think. And it's not obviously, it's pretty accurate from what I've read of history. Um, and it's actually kind of one of those things where it's like it's obvious that they did their research, and because it's not because it's based on the book, but they also put a lot of stuff that the book didn't have in it.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of film TV companies have been doing that lately,
Hmm.
where like The Crown. I know this isn't a sci-fi show, but I'm just gonna, as an example, um, it is based on events and
Hmm.
certain diary entries that are
Hmm.
known, and then other than those two, let's say this one and this one, well, that's like a month or 2 months in between, so they kind of have to fill it in. So
Yeah.
a lot of companies are doing that, but they're doing it in a way that doesn't actually take away from the history.
Right.
And so, for one to go back real quick for All Mankind, the character I was talking about was Gordo Stevens.
Hmm.
And then in,
Gordo.
yeah, All the Right Stuff.
She wanted me to leave, Tully, so I left.
She was playing divorce chicken and you lost, buddy.
Let's see, All the Right Stuff. It has Gordo Cooper. So there's very similar characters, and they're very it's the exact same style character.
Hmm.
But it is The Right Stuff is very well done, because they had the book as well as the original film that was made
Hmm.
for the for the book. It was more of a documentary.
Right.
So I think I enjoyed the series quite a bit, and I even watched the actual
Hmm.
documentary about it, and it was well done.
Yeah, I think you kind of have an interesting point there because, like with the Crown, um, me and my wife are both very obsessed, and I know again not a sci-fi thing, but kind of going on that same vein. That me and my wife are both obsessed with British royal family and British history. It's just we're Anglophiles or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
and so because of that, we kind of know a lot of the history and like how it's supposed to work and stuff like that, and so it really helps us when we watch the show if it sticks with that. And if it gets a little too out of place, obviously it would throw us off. And so Netflix, got to give Netflix credit. Like they have figured out a way to find the right actors, the right writers, the right directors, and then like they're just a machine. And so it's just crazy how they've been able to take that piece of history and just bringing it together with what is stuff that people have said, people observed, and what actually happened. And so it's just it's a good trend that's continuing to happen.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So that's all I have, or that's all that we've scheduled to talk about. Is there something in particular you want to discuss, Wes, of sci-fi adventure?
Or anything really.
I like stars.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that, but
All
there it
right.
is.
So okay. So if there's nothing else, I'm gonna go ahead do my outro. And then if you we can still talk afterwards.
That's what's going to happen. So
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I didn't pull it up. Y'all talk amongst yourselves for a moment.
Okay.
hey Wes,
Yes.
it's great.
What's great?
You are what I'm trying to think of. What's that? That one history thing. When I was talking about the history things about the different stuff. There's the
Use your words, Chris.
Apocalypse Now. That's the word. Apocalypse Now. That's the movie. What do you think, Wes, about the interpretation of certain events in history, like how it's changed from being like I don't know what's that age of film that they came up in?
So are you asking me instead of it being a rah rah let's go to war film, it being a let's explore a little side tangent of what could happen in war? Is that what you're asking me, or?
Yeah, kind of more of like, instead of it being like a, because like with the right stuff and the crown and stuff, it's kind of following a sequence of events, and they have a little bit of artistic liberty, but not as much as like Apocalypse Now.
Uh-huh.
So like, what do you think the difference is between like how that was the genre back then, and now we're kind of going into more like a true life kind of bent right now?
Okay, so I honestly think it was relevance. Yeah, Apocalypse Now was released in 1979, but they started shooting it in 1975. So, and at that point, we're 2 years off of our involvement in Vietnam.
Right.
So it's a matter of relevance.
I see.
And up to that point, you'd had MASH, which was a gonzo movie, which was pointed at Vietnam but took place in Korea. And you had the Green Berets with John Wayne, and it was just John Wayne doing what he do, but in camo.
Yeah.
So you didn't really, and the only other media portrayals of Vietnam was Walter Cronkite going, "I believe the war is now unwinnable," you know.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of relevant media or cultural references to Vietnam in 1975 when Coppola was like, "Yeah, let's do a movie."
Yeah, because that's kind of what I was wondering about that, because The Crown is kind of doing that with Princess Diana. That's where they're at now, is Princess Diana, and they actually have a lot more to go off of this because Diana released a bunch of stuff, which was the big scandal, and that she talked about it on the Waving at the Baby. You want me to bring the baby into the television? No, not yet. In a second. No, because he's recording and he doesn't want to put it on. So
in a moment. So
in a moment, I'll bring the baby on. Sorry.
No, that's
you gotta
fine.
Make a good point. She's looking at me. Sorry. No. Yeah, with the Crown. Sorry, let me focus. Like with the Crown, they have a lot of information that makes it kind of more relevant now.
Yeah.
And so also and people still, of course, are still questioning, the royal family, like what do they do? And there's multiple royal families. It's not just the British royal family. Like there's the Danish and all them, but they don't really have the same kind of roles or importance that the British do. And so like the Danish king, apparently, like you just walking down the street, it's like, hey, that's the king of Denmark. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of becoming where we're now in the genre of film, and we could have a whole discussion on film and television, because film right now has gotten blown up because nobody's going to theaters.
Yeah.
And so when Coppola did Apocalypse Now or did The Godfather, or you had all these other projects, people could go to the movies and sit down. But now it's like we have to have the serialized relevant kind of stuff.
I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right. So let me go ahead, close this out, and we can continue talking. So take a chance and explore something new or old, but new to you. Adventure is out there. Go find it. I'll see y'all next time.